That's right. We really can take you out to the ball game now. You're looking at live pictures. Maybe we can bring them up again as players are getting ready to take on the St. Louis Cardinals, the Chicago Cubs there at Wrigley Field. The game is going to be played, as is every other game that is scheduled for today, because a deal has been reached between players and owners. A baseball strike will not take place. Great news. Our Larry Smith here continuing to follow everything with this breaking news coverage that we've had in the past. What did it have, about 30 minutes ago, would you say? They finally reached the deal after how many hours of talks?
About an hour and a half ago they finally came together, but they just now talked about 40 minutes ago.
Right, for the first time.
Finally.
Okay, the fans, a very important part. Bud Selig talked about the fans. That was the first question from reporters. What about the fans? A lot to be done here with regard to building that image again and getting fans happy, I guess you could say, with the owners and the players.
Well, content to come out and embrace the game as they have in the past in larger numbers, and to be happy about it. There's no question. One thing that I was disappointed that Commissioner Bud Selig did not do is address that. When he was asked that several times, he kept saying, we want to return the focus to the field, and obviously that is the first step in this process. But I think obviously the fans are huge, because if the fans remain turned off the way that they have turned off the game, then baseball has an even bigger problem. If no one's in the stands to watch and no one's watching TV to find out, World Series games or who's going to win this game or that game or whatever, watch the incredible heroics that these players put on. Donald Fear, the union chief this afternoon in the news conference, did say that the fact of this settlement ought to repair and restore the game, and it is true. It does prevent further erosion of the fan base, at least at this moment, compared to what we would have had if we had had a work stoppage. But the way that it is, they still have problems. They have not recovered, as we talked earlier. They have not recovered from the attendance problems that they had after the 1994 strike. And so the question is now, can they restore those numbers?
All right, and can they restore confidence within the fans? You and I were talking about these two websites that we discovered. TakeBackBaseball.com. Heather Holdridge is the creator of that website, and also Major League Baseball Fanstrike.com. We got Don Wadowitz. They both join us now, I guess, to get both perspectives, fan perspectives, shall we say, about what has happened today. First of all, why don't we get your overall reaction about a deal finally being reached? Don, why don't we start with you?
Well, it's great that they finally came to agreement, that they sat down, they compromised on the issues, and that we're going to have baseball. Obviously, we're going to want to see what these deals have to offer, and do they really help address the problems that baseball's been facing.
Heather, what do you think?
Well, I feel like the owners and players pulled off a suicide squeeze bunt in the bottom of the 9th inning. Very happy that we've got a deal and there'll be baseball today, but at the same time, I think there's still some long-term issues that I would be very surprised if this agreement does address them.
Well, I looked at both of your websites. Heather, I'm looking at your website right now. You're pretty anti-Bud Selig, aren't you?
Well, we are no fan of the commissioner. I think that's fair to say. We feel like he's not been a particularly effective voice as an independent arbiter overseeing the integrity of the game.
But Don, I've checked out your website. You're a big fan of Bud. How come?
Well, it's not necessarily that we're a big fan of Bud. I mean, being from Milwaukee, we love Bud for bringing baseball back to Milwaukee, and he's done a great job, it looks like, in getting this agreement hammered out. And like I said, we'll need to see what the meat and potatoes are of this deal.
So I'm curious, Heather, you've been soliciting emails. You've got a lot of people writing in saying, let's get rid of Bud, let's bring in, I was seeing Ozzy Osbourne and Oprah as the baseball commissioner.
Well, they were actually, yes, they did receive votes, but they were on the low end of the vote totals. We ran a poll for about 3-4 weeks, and Cal Ripken Jr. actually won our poll. He just barely edged out Rudy Giuliani.
Don, what do you think about those? Are those two possible future commissioners?
I don't know if they're possible future commissioners, but I think a lot of people feel with what Giuliani did in New York after the disasters of last year that he brought a bunch of people together, brought the American people together. So.
Hey, Don, this is Larry Smith now. One question, too. Watching the news conference, I don't know if you saw it today here on CNN, but both Donald Fear and Bud Selig really did a wonderful Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers, that they kind of danced around the real issues of this and seemed like suits and not real people. Was part of the game not only bringing the players closer to the fans and kind of reinventing that, but also maybe making the owners and the people who make the decisions kind of more real people as well?
Sure, you know, and somebody was saying that it sounds like a bunch of lawyers talking as they were making that announcement, and it really does. And Bud just kind of has a little bit of a stiff look to him in a normal way. So he gets a bad rap a little bit, I think, because he doesn't come across well, and he hasn't been kind of the independent arbiter of everything that, like Heather said. So they need to, I think, loosen up a little bit and get the owners in touch with the fans as well.
Well, I tell you what, if they're watching, maybe they'll go get a mock collar like I've got, and then they can kind of, you know, get with it. What do you think?
You know, see him out there in a ripped T-shirt and some blue jeans on occasion.
There you go. Yeah, exactly. Maybe a tattoo. Who knows? Earring. I don't know. Hey, Don, Heather, thanks so much. We have to run, but thanks again for your thoughts today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.